Who said that?
The Pope.
Oh yeah, the Pope. Yeah.
There are a lot of religions that are making those statements on the science or justifying the God existence on the science. What do you think about that? And is really the religion an obstacle? Because a lot of great scientists were religious, like Mendel or Einstein.
Well, it's a good question. They're good questions. First of all, let me answer the second part. A lot of good scientists were religious, but first of all, you have to understand in the history of science, religion was the only game in town. Universities were religious. If you weren't religious, you couldn't get educated. It was like the National Science Foundation of the 15th century. So it's not too surprising that Newton and others were religious, okay? Because that was the only way to get an education. But, so it would be ridiculous to deny that science in its background relates to philosophy and religion. But it's grown out of that. It's gone beyond that. So in our birth, it was involved in religion, but now we've put it aside. And when the Pope, who says so many silly things, says that science, that the Big Bang and evolution are consistent with the Catholic Church, well, it's not consistent with the specific doctrines of the Catholic Church. Now, it is true that the Catholic Church accepts evolution. It has to. But then what he said, if you listen to what he said, and unfortunately I did, he says, well, that's okay, but God set evolution in motion. And that statement is something for which there's no evidence. In fact, there's every evidence to the contrary. So what amazes me is that these people who somehow have faith in God somehow feel the need to say science supports religion. And the reason is because science is telling us how the world works. And religion is becoming more and more irrelevant. And the Pope realizes that to be relevant, he has to embrace science. But believe me, he's irrelevant.
One question. First, last year was here Richard Dawkins in a very interesting debate about religion, about faith, about many things. You are telling us today that it doesn't exist God.
Well, I'm just saying there's no evidence for God.
All right.
I'm saying that if you look at the universe, what is the difference between the universe we live in and a universe that had no God? As far as we can tell, absolutely nothing. So God is an unnecessary hypothesis.
Right.
That's all.
In that way, many religions or many people have tried to use science to comprove what it's written in the Bible, Tanakh, Coran, something like that. That's the first part of the question. Do you come from a religious background, from a family in religion? And the last question is religion good or bad for humanity?
Oh wow, okay, well those are big questions. Well, let me just say that there are people who try to use science to prove the Bible, but that when someone tells you that, you should be suspicious. Because it means they know the answers before they ask the questions. It means that they claim to know the answer and then they want to take whatever we do to prove that what they know innately to be true. But that's not how science works. Richard Feynman said, if we have a good idea, we try to prove it right, but we also try and prove it wrong. That's what makes science so great. We've learned not to trust ourselves. And so when people tell you, I'm going to prove the Bible by science, you should immediately not listen to what they say, because they already have decided what's right. And of course, in the case of the Bible, it's just wrong. Now, the second question was, do I come from a religious family? Well, I was brought up in a family that was Jewish. And I read the Bible, I also read the Quran, but there was no epiphany for me. It was more just a matter of, I read it and I found when I was a little kid, the stories were fascinating. But like everything else, I just grew out of it. The more I learned about the world, the more I realized those stories were just silly. So it was just a gradual evolution. Now, is religion good or bad for the world? On the whole, I think it's bad. It's not to say that some people don't do good things. But one of my favorite quotes is a quote of a colleague of mine, Steven Weinberg, who's a Nobel Prize-winning physicist, who said, there are good people and there are bad people. And good people do good things and bad people do bad things. When good people do bad things, it's religion.
Thank you.